Welcome to the Orana podcast, a show about what you will find, what you will not find in the Cook Islands. And now here's your host, Chantal Napa.
Kia ora, kia koto katoto, nokone ia mato, tumu te warawaro rarotonga. This is Chantal Napa, your host. Welcome back to Orana podcast. I have a really cool treat for you this morning, and I say cool because about 10 years ago now, I said to Brendan Nicholas, Dawnbreaker Game Fishing Charters captain, also the father of our two beautiful children, I said to him, there's our guest phone ringing. He's forgotten to put it on Do Not Disturb, everybody. So our guest, George Pitt, who's just put his phone on silent, right? About 10 years ago, I said to Brendan Nicholas, hey, Brendan, I've been out of like the sales game for a few years now, 7 years, having our children. I need a bit of a kickstart back into the sales sort of world in Rarotonga too, because it's very different selling in Rarotonga than in Australia where I learned to sell and in New Zealand. And I said to Brendan, who do you know that you would think would be the best salesman in Rarotonga? So Brendan says, George Pitt. And I go, oh, okay. So I'm pretty sure Brendan gave me your number, George, right? So I ring you up and I go, hey, George, you don't know who I am, but, at the time I'm Brendan's partner and we've got two kids and, he said to give you a call. Can I come over for some sales mentoring? I've been out of the game for 7 years. So you go, sure, come over. So you tell me where you live. I go over to your house and you allow me into your home, George, and you had some books ready, sales books ready. And I sat down opposite you and you asked me what I was selling at the time. And it was Brendan's fishing charter business and also the aprons that we were selling, and that we were doing that on Saturdays at the market. And then the fishing charter business was a lot on the phone or internet, right? So I remember, I think you used to always give me homework, and I'd go away and then I'd come back the next week. Then you give me more homework and you give me a book to read. Then I'd go and you would mark out the pages that spoke to you. And then you would say, come back and tell me what spoke to you, Chantal, right? Cool. So we would discuss lots of things like that. And during those mentor sessions, George, I got to know lots about you. Thank you. Right? Because you're going into someone's home and I appreciate that. And one of the really, really cool ones, so 2 weeks ago when I bumped into you, I said, oh, George, please come on my show. How are you? And then you go, what would we talk about, Chantal? And I launched straight into that saying that you taught me. So when you first taught me this sales pitch, right? And this sales pitch is like when you're in a market and there's hundreds of people and you're trying to get yourself noticed, everyone, right? 100 tents around you, 300, 400 people walking around you. How do you get yourself noticed in a market, right? And you said to me, repeat after me, Chantal. And then, you stood up and you said the spiel, and I looked at you like petrified, terrified, right? And then I said, I'll be back next week. So I go home, George, and I practice in front of the mirror. And then I come back to you a week later and I say the spiel. And then that was 10 years ago. And then 2 weeks ago, you say to me, what are we going to talk about? And I go launch into roll up, roll up, roll up, roll up. Have I got a deal for you? Have I got a deal for you? Have I got a deal for you and you and you? Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening? Because I'm only going to say this once and I'm only going to say this once. You're not listening. Are you listening? And then when I came back and did that, you said to me, you've graduated. But you shouldn't have said that, George, because I'm going back to your house for like more mentoring. And you told me change your pitch, change your tone, change your speed. Don't keep it monotonous. Go up, go down, come down, scan, look. So there you go. Thanks a lot. You're laughing, eh? Did you forget that? When I launched into that 2 weeks ago with you, you went, oh my goodness, I did teach her that.
Well, one of the things that I do try to impress upon someone that I start mentoring them is I talk about what sort of outcome they want for their life, and I get them to learn this little affirmation that goes like this: that good is the enemy of best. And I say, if you settle for good, you'll never have best. Good, you'll accommodate good, you'll justify good in your life, but you'll never have best. So that makes you a thief. And the person you're stealing from is the person that you see in the mirror. So when you look in the mirror, you're looking at a thief. And who you're stealing from, you're stealing from yourself. And that seems to be, people seem to settle for mediocre ways and habits and practices. But, someone's always got to come first. So why should you be looking at someone's back? It's like when you line up to run 100 meters, for example. No one lines up at the starting line and thinks, I'm going to run third. I'm going to try my hardest to run third. Everyone wants to be a winner. And it doesn't take much to be a winner. And it's sometimes the difference is the lowest common denominator is always one. All right. So when you look at a really close finish, say in a 100 meters dash, sometimes they win by 0.1 of a second. That makes them a winner. It's a one. And you don't have to really, but you got to understand how the power of one works.
Mm.
And when you can understand how the power of one works, it and then you start adjusting yourself to, when you look in the mirror, when you see a reflection, then you begin to realize that, hey, you talk to the person in the mirror and say, am I going to settle for where I am and what I'm doing now, or have I got some other greater ambitions? And as long as you settle for good, you'll never have best, and you'll always be a thief, and you're stealing from yourself. And that's a sad thing, that people accommodate good in their lives. Oh, it's good enough. It's good enough, And I try to install that in people very quickly. Don't come and talk to me if you just want to have good. You can have good anywhere. And it doesn't take much to have good. But once you settle for that, you're a thief. And I try to drum that into a person's mindset. That why be a thief? Why steal from yourself?
Why be a thief? Why steal from yourself?
Yeah.
I like that. Why be a thief? Why steal from yourself?
Because if you settle for good, sometimes people come to a place in life and say, well, it's good enough. They reach a point where what they're doing and what they are is good enough. But if you want to aspire to, greatness, we've got the potential. Everyone's got the potential to be a great as a person, and what they do in life and what they hope to achieve. But so often we set our targets so low in comparison to our potential. We talk about how the mind works. I tell people, you don't have one brain, you've got two brains. They don't believe it. So you're going to get a textbook out and you go online and say, see, you got a left and right brain. So it doesn't take me long to figure out whether the person has a left brain or a right brain.
Can you elaborate on that? Please, George, left brain, right brain?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And often, you see, because how we are taught at school, it's all, we are taught by building blocks. We build, line upon line, precept upon precept, so to speak. And that's a left brain way of teaching someone. And then we set exams. And the people that have a right brain driven, they're often great failures when it comes to exams. But then they wander off and they leave school and they leave college, university, and suddenly they become millionaires because they created something from nothing. Well, that thing, started making the money. Look at Bill Gates and look at some of these people that are some of the most wealthiest and influential people in the world. They just came up with ideas
Mm.
because they were right brain.
Mm.
Left brain is you're building blocks, and that's how we teach. That's how we teach. That's how we've taught in a New Zealand form of education. You're building, and the next year you come and you build on what you've already established, and just build one block upon another block. You sit exams, and the right brain thinkers that are creative thinkers, they often be told, "You'll never come to anything in life. You're women failure." That's what the teachers. So often, this is what happens. Right brain thinkers are told they're going to be failures in life. They're never going to achieve anything because their whole system is geared up for left brain thinking. Now, if you can, there are exercises you can do that you can engage both left and right brain. All right, simply by crossing your arms and crossing your legs, you create a synergy that gives you the ability to be right and left. And I find so many times, like myself personally, I couldn't wait to leave school. I wasn't a dumb person. I did very well academically. But when I was 15, I was sitting in a class and looking out a window, and I thought, well, I want to get out there and make money. That's all I could think about, because I wanted to buy a motorbike. And I asked my parents for them. I asked my dad for something. I wanted to have a bike. This was in New Zealand. And they said, no. So that's got to think about, I want to have a motorbike. Because I grew up in Rarotonga, and we all rode bikes from the time we were 12 years old, scooters. And, I just, wanted to have a motorbike.
Yeah.
So I went to New Zealand and saw all these big flash, Triumphs, and there was no Harley Davidsons in those days. And I wanted one of those. And you could get a license, I think, when you're 15 in New Zealand at the time.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to
What
have
did
a
your
bike.
parents say?
Well,
No.
well, I asked them, can I? I could have got a second-hand dinghy bike for £10. £10. It might have been $10. It was just before the
dollars.
The decimal thing conversion came. I think that
Yeah.
came in 1967. It was just prior to that.
Wow.
They said, no. What do you want a bike for? So that's all I think about. I'd be sitting in the class, looking out the window, not paying any attention. I mean, I was a good student. I was top of my class for English. Yeah, I can't even speak English properly, but I could. When it comes to the exams,
Yeah.
I was able to put the right things on a bit of paper.
Yeah.
To get.
You were able to call in the left brain,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Overtake the right brain
yeah.
for a little bit.
Well, I didn't know about left and
brain,
right
brain there, yeah.
But a bit of a daydream. I look out the window, and then the teacher would say, one day I just got up out of my chair, packed my bags, and left. And the teacher said, "Pitt, where are you going?" I didn't even answer I just walked out the door, went home. And then after about a week, my parents said,
"Have you been to school?"
"You don't look like you're going to school." I said, "No, I finished." They said, "When?" I said, "About 4 or 5 days ago." I mean, they were shocked. They said, "Well, you've only,
Where you been going?
Well,
were you looking for a job, George?"
Well, I was, trying to think, what could I do, and think. I was processing what exactly I was going to do. I mean, no transport. We lived in a new suburb in New Zealand, and to go anywhere, you had to catch a bus, and you had to walk, probably nearly an hour to get a bus where we lived, because we were in a new subdivision and so on. So anyway, but that's how I got out of going to school. And the rest of my family, they were a lot higher educated myself. But then I began to see that there are smart people and there are clever people in this world, and the clever people are usually the left brain people, where the smart ones are the right brain people. And in 2004, I stopped going to work, right? Because I figured something else, and I figured out you can work for money, or money can work for you. And so I was in a position in 2004 where I just walked away from work. And there was a period of maybe 5 or 6 years I didn't even go to where I worked, my place of where my company and my business was. I just go away, and it got to I've figured this out. That
I know what you're meaning,
Yeah.
right? I'm not sure if the listeners will. So you walked away from this, your place of business, which was a media place,
Yeah.
right? TV, radio, newspaper. and and you just walk away.
Yeah, because I said, well, I got this, I've heard this saying somewhere that life is meant to be enjoyed, not endured.
Oh, wow.
I was listening to a preacher one time, and he's talking about, enjoying life, and, we go through
enduring.
But then I did a lot of research, a lot of reading. These are pre-internet days, of course. We didn't have much of that access to that sort of stuff in Rarotonga.
Yeah.
It was all new.
Mm.
But I used to do a lot of reading and buy a lot of cassette tapes if I went overseas, and any chance I'd go to a conference wherever, if I was in New Zealand, look around, look for a conference, even if it's Salesman of the Purpose, where they have these meetings all the time. So I'd look at them up.
It was interesting this morning, George, because you and I arrived here at the office, and then because I messaged you and said, hey, it's raining, let me pick you up, right? I think for me, thanks to the rain, because it was a great excuse to spend more time with you instead of you making your own way here. And you get into the car, then we stop, we get a coffee, and then we get to the office and you say to me, well, actually, you found a book on the passenger's side.
When I hopped in the car.
Yeah, when you hopped in the car. And you go, hey, Chantal, what's this? I went, oh, that's my next book that I'm reading. I got my friend Joanne to bring it with her. And you look at the cover and you go, very interesting, right? And then you had your head in the book for 15 minutes while I've been trying to get the internet and to hook up, right? And then you say to me, what else are you reading? And I go, oh, well, right next to my bedside table right now is, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, The Power of More Than One. And then you're like, okay, interesting. And I go, yeah, they've been very helpful. And even every time I have a friend come like Hayden or friends from New Zealand, I always ask them to bring me a book, George, because, I like my nose in a book too.
Well, I mean, as soon as I opened the car, so that I started flicking through it.
I'll tell everyone the label of this one, eh? So this book that he found in my car, everyone, is written by Sarah Knight, and it's Grow the Up, right? He goes, how to be an adult and get treated like one. Yeah. So George has had his head in this book.
Not only that, I have when we stopped to get coffee.
Yeah.
Then I
you started reading it while I was ordering it.
I always carry a notepad.
Yeah.
You see, and I got here Chantal 29-5th book, Grow the F Up, and then I start. First of all, I go through a book, I scan it, look at the contents, anything that was, my tricks mate. So I'm a good way through it, and I've been making notes and what pages to. Then I can go online at some stage and sort of, capture
no, but I
some
think
more.
you're going to borrow that book. That's fine. But I see you've got page this, page that,
yes.
page this, page that.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I carry this around and I make notes and, just a habit now.
Yeah.
Leaders are learners. And if you stop learning, you stop being a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a follower. I don't want to be a spectator. I want to be a participant. I've been involved in preaching, and I was a pastor for many, many years and grew churches from being very small. But sometimes you get up there and it's like going to a rugby match. You get 100,000 people into a sporting event, watching a couple of people, it's like when I was living in Melbourne, I'd go to always go to the Australian Open tennis, I love tennis, but sometimes there's two people there, and there's what $10,000 in this covered stadium, and
10,000 people, watching
Melbourne,
these two people.
with two people. You see,
Mm.
there's spectators watching. Who's participating? Just two people, and so what do you want? You want to be a spectator, or you want to be a participant? And
you want to talk about the preaching thing?
Yeah, well, eventually, but I took an entrepreneurial approach to my when I started churches from nothing.
I could just one moment, please, everyone. We've got someone at the back door. We're recording a live podcast, sir. So what is it that you need? We're recording a live podcast. Thank you. Bye. Okay. It's all right. Microphone might not be big enough.
No, so I've taken I took the approach that I became I was attending a church for 9 months before I really made a commitment that I wanted to hook up to this kind of part of my life, because I didn't really have a spiritual component in my life. I always felt that there was something missing. By the time I was 19, I had a brand new home in Birkenhead in New Zealand. And you try and buy that same house today, that'll cost you $2 million. And it was right Birkenhead on the North Shore. Real estate there is huge money now.
Yeah, in Auckland, New Zealand.
And I used to think to myself, I'd look at what I'd done, achieved in such a short time. And then I always felt there was something missing. There was a connection missing. And that was really my spiritual component of my life. And so, there was, I was always hungry to learn things. I don't know, I was born that way, and I really didn't like people telling me what to do. I was very self-motivated, always wanting what, my dad was 47 by the time he built his first home. He was 19, and I think, well, what is it? What else is there in life? I was married, had one child, but what else there is in life that, it's like I've reached a stage where it took my own father and other adults in the street. They couldn't believe, the folk that lived in the same street that I moved into. They just couldn't believe I was so young, and they say, how can you afford all this? But I'd always been a worker. When I left school, I was 15, 16. And I worked at the freezing works because I wanted to be in a place where I could make a lot of money. And being young, I didn't want to go and work somewhere where you got a youth wage or under 20, under 19 pay. I wanted an adult pay. And physically, I was very fit because I used to play rugby league. I was always a sporty person.
Oh.
I love sport. So I was physically fit. I was strong.
Okay.
Yeah. Because of my sport. And I did very well at sport. But those days, you didn't get paid to play sport like you do now.
Yeah.
I just wish if that was today, I'd make my living out of being a sports person. Yeah. But, get back to this left brain, right brain thing. So, as I started to read and try to improve myself and go to salesman with a purpose, seminars or breakfasts and listening to the testimonials of other people, it was like grabbing something here, grabbing something there, and then contextualizing it all to, my personal life. Then, then I wasn't didn't have a very good grasp of the English language, which I should have, but I don't know why, because, I only knew how to speak English, no other language. And, but I was a good communicator. I was even interviewed by a television program. They were looking for front people that were because the program was a churchy type program, and they were scouting around and they were visiting different churches that were seemed to be doing something, and my English wasn't that great, but they kept saying, "But you're a great communicator." Well, I was, and I just I was able to get my whatever I was saying, my message across. When you're preaching, you're selling a product that people can't see, feel, or touch. You're selling God.
Yeah.
It's not like you're selling a vacuum cleaner or a car or something you can feel and touch. It. You're selling something they can't see.
Yeah.
And so your way you communicate that has got to be really convincing that you're saying to a person, all right, give up the way you're currently living, change your whole lifestyle. And then, if you got, every week you're going to have to contribute a part of your pay, like a tithe or a giving for the offering. And, it's a huge ask to tell someone to give all that up, to walk in a new way in life, which they can't see, they can't feel, they don't even really real at all. And you're going to find out until you die and go to heaven. Then you're going to find out, they said, well, how do we know heaven's real? So, well, we don't until we get there, or we,
I think that's why Brendan Nicholas did you salesman 10 years ago for me to go to.
And when you get used to selling, basically you're a salesman, right? You're convincing people, stop the way you're living, make these huge changes in your life, and you're going to live this way. It's a total change.
Yeah.
It took me 9 months for me, the time that I decided I needed a spiritual component of my life. But I was very analytical and very sort of critically. I would never take anything at face value. It took me 9 months to weigh this all up before I realized, hey, I think I'll buy into this. And the last place you buy into it is when you part with your money. And I think, well, they're just after my money, and I was a fireman at the time. And so, the offering bag would come round and you'd scratch out and put in something, but not, according to what they'd been teaching, like a 10% if you pay or more. But it took 9 months of processing it before I said, right, I'm really going to buy into this.
Yeah.
And then, but after 4 years, I became very, what could I put it? I sort of trunked in many ways. I needed to get out of that environment and go somewhere and start putting into practice the things that I'd been receiving. I was in a congregation that grew from about 1,000 to 3,000 in the 4 years I was there. The place just took off, and it was a lot of young people were coming, being converted and changing their lives, and so after about 4 years, I'd get bored. I'd say, well, I'm receiving all this information. I want to go somewhere and put it into practice. Whereas in this big church, I think all you could be is an usher. Remember when people say, what's your experience in church, participation? I said, well, on such and such, I was an usher on the bottom floor of 3 levels in row such and such when such and such was speaking. That's all that's all that. The reason because of that was there's so many people there that had to go on rosters, to be a doorman, just to be a greeter and hand them some literature or something for the service. And I thought, I want to do more than this, because I've been receiving, but I felt I needed to have an outlet to put some of this into practice.
Yeah.
But then when I got the opportunity, I just took a different, line of thinking. Because I found a very small church in where I was living in Birkenhead. Very small church, very small one. About wouldn't have been 20 people left there, maybe 10 or so. And it had been a big church, but it had gone in decline and was about to shut. And somehow I ended up there. I thought, I'll go and visit that. And I thought, well, where's everybody? There's nobody there. And that sort of, I thought, well, maybe I could come here, and maybe contribute something. And that's how I eventually got into being the pastor, a pastor, because we were trying to get a pastor to come and take over because we had no pastor, and we couldn't get anybody. And we did a questionnaire in the church members that were there, and they said, well, George, because we all used to have a turn at preaching. Not we was wanted because we had to.
How wonderful.
And so, last minute, I'd be rung up on a Saturday night and someone said, oh, could you take the preaching? Because I couldn't think of anything. I said, oh. So, but anyway, the more you did something, the better you got.
Yeah, true. And it's also involvement and getting everybody involved.
But I felt guilty. I thought God would punish me. I don't know. Honestly, if I don't do this, God's going to punish me. Really, that's how I was feeling. I was scared of God. I'd get punished. So I'd stay up all night trying to get a message together, a sermon together. And then the more I did it, the better I got.
True.
And so then I had to study a bit. I'd go and listen to other preachers and see what they, how they got to communicate their message. And then, because I was a fireman at the time.
How old were you around about this time?
I was 27, 28.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'd been a fireman for 6 years.
Yes.
And I'd taken a sabbatical. I had a whole year off, which I went and did something else. And then I got involved in the church because I had this year off. And if I did go back, I would have lost my seniority, lost my rank. I want to go back and start from scratch again, back from the bottom as a fireman.
And the fireman, yeah.
Because you cannot progress without experience. Experience comes before the promotion. And you have to sit exams. But you can't sit some exams in the fire service and say, unless you've been there 3 years, that then entitles you to, sit for a certain level of ranking. And if you've been there 5 years, that entitles you to sit another. Otherwise, you get bright people that pass the exams, but when it came to putting a fire out, they wouldn't know what to do because while they have the qualifications, they don't have the practical experience to deal with, fixing solutions.
Yeah.
So, and
so would you like to continue with that subject? Because there's so many subjects we could talk about.
Well, it just what I'm trying to say is what shaped my early mindset. I was always on a quest, and I didn't know about left and right brain. I didn't have the faintest idea until I I'd go to them. If I ever went to New Zealand, I'd go to Whitcoulls and go and look at all the books. I'd see all these strange books, about accelerated learning, left, right brain. So I'd buy all this stuff and take it back and just go through it and observe it and, try to take it, make copious notes and then try to put this into practice and test them out on people. But when I found out, that being a good communicator means you've got to be a good listener. But the trouble is we listen, but we don't hear. I say to people, now I want you to listen to what I'm going to say to you. I want you to hear. I want you to hear. Because when people say, we talk about the politicians. Oh, we go to talk to them. They're not listening to us. They are listening, but they're not hearing. And that's the point. Nothing sinks into your brain until you start hearing. All right. And that's like you look, but what do you see?
Yes.
You listen, but what do you hear?
Yes.
People can look at something all day and not see anything.
Yes.
Right. And I've trained myself. And that was part of what I was training myself in the fire service. When you look at something, what do you see?
Yeah.
And when you listen, what do you actually hear?
Yes.
And most people don't hear anything.
Yeah, I think because sometimes I suppose, George, is this what you're saying? Like you can be listening to a friend and they're telling you lots of things, but what they're actually telling you is that they're afraid or they're struggling or, and they could be saying lots, but then you're looking at the signs of what are they emanating? You know, are they what are their shoulders doing? What's their this smile doing, or no smile, or this? Or is it fear? Is it this? And so with sales, it's huge. Like
You're talking about body
right.
language.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
With sales, you know, like it's huge. It's
So,
where is this person at?
yeah, I do a lecture for how to improve sales, retail sales. You know, and this is pitched mainly to department stores, like for example, CADC here. This is a department store. You walk in, it's beautiful. It's you know, it's aesthetics is wonderful. It's well laid out, but so I say to people, look, I can guarantee you, I'll do
A course with your staff.
Yeah. You know,
and it will
and
increase your income.
It takes don't even take 10 minutes and I finish, right? You see, because when you go into a retail shop or something, you usually get approached and can I help you, sir? Or can I help you, ma'am? And the answer you give is a yes or a no.
Yes.
But you see, by changing one word, a person can't say yes or no. When a person comes to me and says, I walk in a shop and they can I help you, sir? I say, no, I'm shoplifting. And then I walk off and I start, and they say, this guy's shoplifting.
And you're doing that for fun, right? When
yeah, what I say, you know, because, you know, see.
Meaning you're saying that to them to make them think. Yeah.
Yeah. I just say, no, it's okay. I'm shoplifting. You know, but see, they're not getting a yes or no answer. I'm actually saying something. And that should get them to ask a question, you know.
Yeah. Well, I would have said, well, what are we shoplifting for today?
Yeah, but see, this is what this is the
briefcase size, you know, and then you'd start laughing and go.
You see, when you get a yes or no answer, you can't create conversation.
Yeah.
So I say to them, how can I help you? I say, you just got to say one word. How can I help you, sir? Or ma'am? Now, they can't say yes or no, can they? Because you've said the how. So they're going to give you an answer. And when they give you an answer, bang, there is a crack in the door, so to speak, that you can then continue the conversation. And that's what I tell them. It's all over. And I say, you get your staff to do that, and you watch your sales improve, right? Just by one simple word. How?
How?
And they said, well, you know, that was easy. I said, no, well, it may have taken me years of study and research to come to that conclusion, and you know, and sort of practicing.
Yeah.
You know, I do consultation for someone in government, and sometimes he'll ring me up on the phone, ask me a question, I give him an answer straight away. He says, come pick your check up. And sometimes I say, that's okay, you know. They say, and then he reminds me, well, you know, it would have taken me so long to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I ring you, and the reason why you can answer that question because you have,
I get it.
You know, you've studied, you've got experience, and you can.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm paying for the fact that, you know, you're like an encyclopedia.
Totally.
Like you've been programmed.
It's like you ring the plumber and he comes in and he's there for 2 seconds, and it's not the 2 seconds that he's fixing. Yeah. You know, it's all the knowledge and the experience that he has, and it gets done, and you happily pay because you would be underneath that sink, you know, for 2 days. Right. It's just totally. And
you know, sometimes I go to was going to this person's office. I have a number of clients that work for government, and a lot of them just say, look, you know, we don't really want people to know that, you know, because most of the time they've got jobs and they're not compatible to those jobs. But it's been like a political, payback sort of thing, you know, and some of them are very generous, and that's all they want is just a simple answer. And I see myself as a solution provider, you know, because this is what I tell people: every time there's a problem, there's prosperity. There's a component of prosperity.
Oh wow!
Yeah, problems.
I like that. Every time there's a problem, there's prosperity.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
For example, you know, I have an accident in my car, and then the panel beater's happy to see you because you've got a problem, a bunged up car, but your problem is his prosperity.
Yes.
All right. And wherever there's a problem, there's money to be made.
Yes.
Okay. It's you don't say, oh, it's like if you've got a toothache. Dentist is there, hey, Jamie, sit down, open wide. Then you get a
problem,
big,
prosperity. Yeah.
Then you get this big, heavy bill,
Yes.
Your problem is just another person's prosperity.
Yes.
Whenever I see a problem, I see there's money to be made. Right. But see, it's when you look at something, what do you see? Right. Now,
opportunity.
Now, for example, coconuts. Dried coconuts will fall down on the road every day, right?
We talked about that, everyone.
When I see a dried coconut, that's 30 cents. Because you can sell those dried coconuts for $30 a 100.
Yeah.
Right? One time.
100 for $30. Yeah. We were talking about that on the way here.
I say to people, if you saw 30 cents on the ground, would you pick it up? Yes. Well, that's a coconut, dried coconut. You got a car. I want a bike. I can't pick up coconuts. I can pick up one or two. But you think, you see, it's when you look at something, what do you see? Right? Do you see opportunity?
I like that. When you look at something, what do you see? Yeah.
When you look, what do you see? When you listen, what do you hear?
What do you hear? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then I take people through a very simple exercise to get them to understand this concept. I asked them a question. I said, it's not a trick question. You give me the answer straight away. Right? It's not a trick question.
All right. What's the question?
2 times 2.
2 times 2. Depends.
Right? You see?
I'm going to say 4, aren't I?
Yeah. But you don't have to think about the answer, do you? I say 2 times 2. You say 4.
Correct.
All right. Did you have to think? Did you have to process that? No.
Oh, but I think it took a year for me to learn that, though, way back when I was like 6. But
now,
true.
I say to people, 2 times 2, and they say 4. I said, see? And they say, well, what is all that about? I said, well, ask yourself, you see, when you condition your mind a certain way and it's programmed a certain way, sometimes you don't have to process things. Bang, the answer comes. Look at a black belt person, say, some martial arts. When they get attacked, they go, bang, and there's 4 people lying on the ground.
Yes.
Now, then you have to think to themselves, oh, gee, this one's coming this angle, he automatically knows how to move his head. This is saying it's hard to hit a moving target. These guys, when they move their head, it's centimeters. It's just a centimeters movement of the head, and the punch goes past you. All right, then you kick them in the nuts. Then they bend down to hold their nuts, and then you whack them on the side of the head. That's simple. That's how I used to fight. I used to, there's no secret that, I've done time as a young person.
Oh. Well, you wanted, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to tell me that.
I love fighting. I just love the aggression of fighting.
Yeah.
And I was in a motorcycle gang, part of, being a foundation member of a motorcycle gang. It was called Highway 61. It was started by Cook Islanders. That somehow we congregated and beat each other in New Zealand and Auckland. And then we, because we all grew up in Rarotonga, right around the scooters, but by this time we all had bikes. So we used to get together and muck around together. And then through a whole lot of circumstances, we got taken this name, Highway 61. So that name was sort of kind of bestowed on us. So we sort of said, because there's the Highway 61 crowd, And so.
You're going to go there?
But my thing in that group was I like fighting.
Okay.
I just couldn't help
Did
myself.
you train for it?
For fighting?
Back then? Yeah.
Well, I had a way of fighting.
Yeah.
You see, and your feet are a greater reach than your arms.
Than your arms, yes.
Yeah. So I would practice kicking someone in the nuts. All right. Yeah. Understood. It's my own sort of martial arts type of
using a bag, right? Practicing.
Oh yeah, well, kicking someone in the nuts.
Okay.
Because when you kick someone a man in the nuts, what does he do? he bends his head down and he grabs his balls, because he's in pain. And when he's bent his head's down, then you whack him right on the side of his temple, and then bang, it's all over in a few seconds. Kicking the nuts, ow! As his head goes down, you whack him right on the side of the head. You don't punch and do him damage. You just whack on the side of the head here, and of course he's down. He's out. Yeah, it's over. Bang, bang, gone.
Yeah,
that was my form of martial arts.
Yeah. Long time ago, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was a bit, 17, 18 then. That's what got me into trouble. I ended up doing a little bit of time, having a break. Taxpayers' expense. And I think all my charge.
And how long will you have doing time for and having a break?
Anyway. I when I later applied to become a fireman, and I get these forms to fill out. And do you have any convictions? I suppose they're looking at anybody that might, have some ass, fire lighting, and they give you 3 lines. And I had 10 lines of things, and most of them are either for willful damage, because if you're a car and I'd jump on the roof and your car would have the roof would be caved in, I'd smash the headlights and kick the door. So, on a bike, but you have these, we just call them bother boots, the steel cap boots. So as you're driving away, you just kick cars and take off.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave dents everywhere. So anyway, so I got all these assault charges, you see, how am I going to, I get 3 lines to write, side right.
How am I going to fill in this application?
Yeah, I just put times.
Times.
Yeah, like the 3 lines of times 3 those, times 4 those. Yeah, so I was very, I wouldn't put it, I'm a very certain person. And growing up, I just loved fighting. I just loved the combatant type of approach physically. And I was fit too, so. But that's how I.
They have rings for that, George? Where you can go and under controlled, right, with the referee. Okay. Just letting you know.
But one of the things that, so anyway, I went away and it really upset my parents. They used to, take about 2.5 hours to drive to the prison every Sunday and visit me for an hour or so. And one of the things they did when you went inside, they'd shave your head. They'd sit you down and say, "Oh, how do you want your haircut?" We're going to have a haircut, you see. Yeah. And then they'd put
they ask you how, but you don't have a choice.
But you don't know that, you see. And this is their funny games. This is the guards, the wardens. And then they'd stick the barber's clippers on your head, and you go, whoa. And so, you got hair on both sides, and right down the middle is your bald. And then they show them, is that what you're up to?
Well, that's the first time you heard a how can I help you today question.
Anyway, so so when I went, I said, I just cut it because I'd heard about it, you see. Someone's been in this particular place, so that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, it was I soon learned that I had no control about where I was, so I went about trying to enjoy myself. Because I look at other people and they were depressed, they would be, become mentally, unstable and this sort of thing. So I did my best, and people say, "What was it like?" I said, "I actually quite enjoyed it." It was a great learning experience for me.
We're recording a podcast, sir. That's why the door's closed. Thank you.
Anyway, so I learned.
George, do you want to build me a recording studio? Because this happens all the time. Even though I haven't signed up for it, the door is closed. I'm recording a podcast because George, people need help. They need help. They want help. They've got so many questions that they want to ask, and I understand. But yeah.
Anyway, back to that.
Sorry. Yeah.
And where were we? Anyway.
Where were we?
I had a great experience. I learned a lot about life, as in the lockup, you just had to find ways to make life positive in a situation where you had no control over. And so and people say, well, how'd you get on when you were inside? I said, I found it quite a great learning experience, because I was determined, what am I going to get out of this? I'm not going to be like these guys who are moping around and they try and escape, they just get thrown in the hole. And, why punish yourself? And so, I actually got permission and got out in good time, and I was back on the street. And
what was that word? Remission.
Yeah, because you get time off good behavior. You see, there's always this period of and that's the incentive to be good. If you're good, you get, you see, when they think you'll reform and change, there's no reason to keep you there. Right? Because the whole idea of you going there is that you are punished, but also that you are rehabilitated. So you got this mixture of, you got to have your punishment, and then there's opportunities to be rehabilitated. So you grab those rehabilitation opportunities and just flow with them. Right? Don't fight them, even though you don't like them. You just go with the flow. You can, you can fight, you can flee, or you can flow. Right? What's the point of fighting? You're like, with more.
How cool is that? Fight, flee, flow.
You can fight. You can fight the system, fight what is going on. You can run away, flee. But you can flow.
There's that question, George, that they it's in this book, one of the books I've read, and it says if you're asking your partner or your child or your friend or what's your fight style? Is it flee? Is it flow? Is it or stay and fight? Yeah. Fight, flee, flow.
You see, you gotta make your mind. In this situation, do I flow? Do I fight, or do I run away? You see. So when you're in
and we make those decisions every day, George.
That's right.
In life, do I flow with this? Do I fight with this, or do I flee? When I say every day, what I mean is, like, my daughter doesn't want to have a shower, right? And she's 11, and I'm like, hey, so I'm like, choose your battle, Chantal. Do you want to fight with her about this? Do you want to flow with this about it? Fight, flee, flow.
You see, because when I got out,
it's just an example.
When I was a free person, I was on probation. I ended up being on probation for 5 years. Because I just kept going back inside, and then I was the sort of person others would come up and want to fight me, and I used to have to just walk away. And they say, you coward. It wasn't worth my while, because you get an altercation, I might get this guy on, but that's only going to put me back inside, because I was on probation for 5 years, because I did some naughty things, and then I went back into court, and because I was stable in my work environment, then I just would be heavily fined, because I was a good saver, and you had to save money. I was earning good money, and so I had good lawyers, and I'd cop a big fine, but then I just add on a bit to my probation. So I was on probation for 5 years, and in that time, you can't put a foot wrong, because that becomes detrimental to yourself. And then I was also I became a fireman towards the end of that time, and sometimes people know about your background and start to needle you, try to push you, see how far they can push you. And so those times I'd flee, just walk away. And it took a lot of doing to walk away. Because but I learned to control aggression that way, by saying the consequences. But all our actions have consequences. I didn't give this guy a good eye, and then he wouldn't forget. But what are the consequences there? The satisfaction, putting him in his place, or just ignoring him. Fight, flee, or flow. So you're making those choices all the time. But anyway, come back to 2 times 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. And I say to people, how How did that get into your brain? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Repetition.
It's a simple process called spaced repetition. See,
we went through this in our training and
Yeah.
our mentorship.
Yeah.
The repetition. Yes.
that's what you see by repeating. That's how we learn our
That's
2 times
right.
table.
10
You know,
years
2
ago,
times
you
2.
said that to me.
You just keep going, and suddenly that registers, and you can't move it. And it's the repetition. You know, so if you want someone to be able to, and this is how these kung fu people, or these martial arts, it's just doing the same thing, like a punching a bit of wood, you know, make your knuckles hard. It's the repetition, all right? And so when you just doing the same thing over and over again, and finally it will register, because the thing in your back of your brain doesn't accept new things straight away. New ideas are rejected by your brain always. And that's when people give up. But if you keep pursuing it, it starts to get into your brain. You know, you got to understand how the brain works. But in simple terms, without being too technical, if you keep pursuing that, that's like if I want to sell you something, right? If I come and I want to sell you some insurance, I'll say the same thing to you 5 or 6 different ways.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. 5 or 6 different ways. And then I go and keep repeating. Right. And the thing is, I'm talking to you and you're nodding your head. And you've got to get people to nod their head.
Yes.
Because what nod their head means yes.
Yeah.
All right. Your head that way, there's no. So how do you get a person to nod their head? You nod your head as you're talking to them. And they start to imitate you. They start to, yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. You know, you're selling insurance. You know, if you, something happened to you, would you like to see your wife and family have some provision? Oh, yes. But you nod your head, yes. So you get them to say yes, 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 yes. And when they've said some yeses, they're hooked. They just say, would you like to sign it? Oh, yes. And you nod your head. And they sign off on buying insurance off you. You know.
Yeah.
It's very affordable, isn't it? And you're nodding, oh, yeah, that's affordable. You know, people imitate you. You know. While you're talking, you're nodding your head. After a while, you see them nodding their head. And you pose your questions that don't give them, that you know that they will most likely say yes. All right? They say yes, yes. You get 5 or 6 yeses out, they will sign an insurance policy, or they'll sign up to something. Yeah. And you do that the same as when you want to lead someone into changing their life and becoming a Christian. And it's not it.
Okay. So how can you talk to me about communication, George?
Well, I've had to, being a preacher, communication is so important. And I do run a little seminar, workshop on communication, how to be effective communicator. And some people come and they think this is going to be a day's activity. I say, you bring this certain, writing material, and I don't even use any visual aids. I just straight out talk. And so I do this seminar. It doesn't take long. And that's all they need to become an effective communicator. And it goes like this. How, why, when, where, what. All right. And I say to them, to be a good communicator, you've got to listen and hear what the first word is that people say to you. Okay. So when I say to where have you been, the first word is where. So why are you giving me what answer? I didn't ask you what you've been doing. I says, where have you been? So I go through these exercises, and even when I'm mentoring people, even when I talk to people, and I do ask a question, they give me an answer that doesn't match the question. I said, look, no, you're starting to insult my intelligence. I asked you, where have you been? I didn't ask you what you're doing. Oh, yeah. And I correct people so that, and I said, if you didn't catch the first word, sometimes when you get up to preach, people got to tune into your frequency, your voice modulation, your voice, your frequency. So before you start talking along those lines, I will maybe tell a joke sometimes, and just to break the ice, and then or a sort of a parable of some sort, and then get into the subject. All right. Once they got into your
frequency,
I call it,
your vibe.
Yeah. So, and then we start, and then I start, even when I'm preaching, sometimes when I'm preaching, I get up and say, look, I'm going to say some very profound things today. I want you to listen very carefully and hear what I'm going to say. I said, and then I repeat myself. I'm going to say some very profound things today. I want you to listen and hear. And when you say profound, he's got something, that word sort of grabs their attention a little bit. But when you listen and hear, I'll repeat that. So that people get to see there's a difference between listening. Because when you read the Bible, it never talks about listening. It always talks about hearing. It doesn't talk about listening. Now, everybody listens, but how many people actually hear? And so, that's biblically based, that concept. So anyway, so we did this lecture on where, how, what, how, when, those. I noticed in this book about communication, it touches on some of those things. And
I've been learning that too, George, since especially with the podcast. So the first year of Orana podcast, and I know you've been watching me for 3 years, right? So of course I've gotten better because of the repetition. And the first year I ummed and ahed my way through the first year, right? I would not have brought you on the first year, George, because even though I was a good communicator, I wasn't a good interviewer. So that took time and practice, and that took repetition. And it also took me remembering that I'm not the star of the show.
I had the same thing when I started doing radio.
Yes.
It's completely different from preaching, and it's a completely different way of communicating.
Yes.
Because people can't see it; it's just a voice.
Yes.
And so you gotta use your voice. The modulations where you put the emphasis on things. Look, you could say like, he hits his wife, so the emphasis is on hit, or he hits his wife. Yes. So the emphasis on he. Or he hits his wife. So you can give a sentence a different meaning.
Yeah.
But where you put your voice inflection.
Yes.
In a sentence, you see, it's all the same words.
I'm saying because 10 years ago you did that with me in our mentorship time. Yeah.
But you see, when you're on radio, I had to learn how to be a political commentator or current affairs commentator on radio. And then I thought, it's a simple thing, but it took a bit of learning. So I had to go away and, how does radio an audience? And I'm quite good at it now.
And it's like with the podcast, George, because this is not visual; it's just audio. So exactly.
You're painting pictures. You see, some people get up and they're using and they go to preaching and they're using the what you call it. It's on the stuff comes up on the screen. Put it that way. Whereas I try to paint. I've learned to paint a picture in a person's mind. So it's an internalized picture, not an outward one. When you're looking at something that's projected on a wall, all right, it's external. Whereas I try my best not to do that. I try to paint the picture in their mind, so it's an internal picture, not an external one. And that's where the communication thing, is so important. That you're addressing a congregation, and every other preacher's got this. What you call it? Uses the
overhead projector stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
but on the
microphone. What are we doing? You're doing sign language.
I'm just trying to get the right word for it. It comes up on the screen.
Yeah.
and so the congregation can see what the points, you know.
Yes.
Whereas I think, well, Jesus didn't have any of that stuff, but he was a great storyteller. He could paint pictures.
Yeah.
He would take things like which they knew so well,
Yeah.
and develop these
Yeah.
these issues. You see,
Tell them a story. Yeah.
You tell them a story.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he'd say someone went out to sow.
Yeah. Tell them
And
a
so
story.
people knew that imagery within them, but he'd take something that they visually already knew, and he would get them to internalize some of that. And so it's, you know, it's
about connection.
Yeah, it's I try to create, and I think I've become quite good at it, you know, and I don't need to use visual aids, and you know, it's just, but it's taken years to develop that, and sometimes it's been done subconsciously, you know, and I'm not a modernist when it comes to all the social media stuff, and I find that, you know, I say to people, information's my currency. Information, and if I can get it from here to you, and you buy into it, I've succeeded. And the good thing is now people are paying me, you know, for that information. So
I'm writing that down, George.
You know, when
information is my currency.
Yeah.
I might nick that off you.
Yeah.
Information is my currency.
Yeah. Well, if you go to a family meeting for Cook Island, you're discussing land issues. Well, food's the currency there. All right. You see, my mother will go to a wedding, and I'll say, "Mum, how was the wedding?" It was no good.
How is she?
No, 95, 96, whatever. She's still going strong.
Wow.
Anyway, that's what happens when you're half Chinese.
Wow.
Yeah. I've got a Chinese father and Samoan mother.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Strong as an ox. Very strong. And, you know, of course, we're still little kids. Still bosses around, but hey, come on. Here's Mum. Yes, whatever Mum wants. Just, you know, just flow with the go.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, so
95, 96, thereabouts.
Still pushing us all around like with little kitties.
That's her job. Okay, we were on currency. Information is my currency. How long have you had your radio station now?
Since 1998, around there, 99. That's radio. First of all, we had television.
Yeah.
Then radio, and then we started up the newspaper. The newspaper was supposed to be like the listener, you know, really for our programs, because, you know, we felt that our programs had a value, monetary value. Yeah. So we would, it's like the listener, you buy the listener so you can see or the TV guide, you know, people would buy that to see what was on, you know, what was on. And that's how we, you know, with 4 different newspapers, and, you know, on different days, different newspaper or magazines or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was more impressive. I go to someone and say, "Oh, so no, I own 4 newspapers." What? Then I take samples that. Oh, and they all specialize in different things.
Yes.
The Independent was just purely politics, you know, and really got down to some of the grubby stuff that was going on, and there was no holds barred that one. Yeah. Then there was Cook Islands Herald, there was Cook Islands Times, the Cook Islands Press, and the Independent, and they all covered different, and they were all doing well. They all did very, very well. But then in 2004, I stopped going to work.
I know.
I just stopped going to work. I said, life's meant to be endured, not
enjoyed, not endured.
So, what am I doing this for?
Yeah, you walk away from the TV, from the, you know.
And, you know, I went to Samoa for nearly 6 years, had a break. When I was there, couldn't help myself. I started a TV station and a radio station. Yeah, it was called Star, meaning Samoa television and radio. Star, right? And then the radio did exceptionally well. And you know,
I think radio does very well in Polynesian islands, George, or everywhere, I suppose. Like,
well, you see, you know, there was already a whole host of other stations there, but you know, but I found a way. There people tune into my radio station. Yeah. So what we did, people say, "Oh, you don't make any money. You know, we've got so many this particular group owned 5, 6 radio stations. And I said, well, we'll see. So I worked out a strategy. See, people have strategic plans, but you got strategies and you got tactics. Strategy is what you want to do, but a tactic is how do you do it?
Yeah.
And most people can write strategic reports, and they will sit in government shelves for months after, and they'll get paid to make a strategic report. It goes on and on and on, but no one gives you the, they say that's the outcome you want, but you've got to have tactics, because tactics tell you how you get there, how you achieve that. And most people got no idea about tactics.
That's it. I like that.
The strategies and tactics. Strategy is what you want, the ultimate outcome.
Yeah.
A tactic is what you need to be doing. That's the how-to. This is the what-to. This is the how-to.
Yeah.
Well, I think, no, I don't think, I know I'm a good tactician. You bring me, say, I said, what's the outcome you want? They tell me. I said, well, how are you going to get there? How are you going to go from there to there? Oh, well, and so one of my things is I go step by step by step. You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
It's all to understanding how to implement change. I studied change dynamics, and one of the best things I ever did was study change, and become a change agent. Put it that way.
I like that. Become a change agent.
Yeah, you can make anything you want it to be over a period of, say, 5, 6 years, if you know the process of change. Okay. Now, if you have access to the media, you can actually accelerate your change. Now, if you own the media, you can do whatever you want. It's simple. The amount of subliminal advertising you can incorporate in change, media changes it's not illegal to have subliminal advertising. That's advertising within advertising within advertising. All right.
I must have had you on my brain, George, because you know how I've just started this digital card, right? The First for the Cook. So I went down to your station, because you're not there. And I go in and I say to your brother, okay, my budget is $400, but this is what I would like to happen with it. I know it's not the correct amount of money. I would like to be an ad on TV. Here it is. And I would like to be in the Herald newspaper. And the week that you release it, I would like to be the front page girl. And because I'm like succinct and, your brother understands exactly what I want to achieve. And he goes, okay, well, let's see what we can do with $400. I understand you want the ad in there. You want to be on the TV. Well, let's see how much that can buy you. And you want to be the front page girl that week. Because
I get paid $50 to be on the front page.
$50 to be on the front page. And it was all the strategy bit of how was I going to let the Cook Islands know again. And then the tactic was, that's the tactic. How? So it's like TV, newspaper, simultaneous, connect the person to the project. And so because of the repetition, it was a good, so I was doing the strategy and the tactic thing, George, right? And where did I go? Because I knew it's not just radio, it's not just TV. And you were the one who said to me 10 years ago, repetition, Chantal, so, yep. And then.
See, newspaper, you look at the newspaper, what do you see? You listen to the radio, what do you hear?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, because of the repetition of television,
yes,
the same ad comes on 6 times tonight.
Yes.
The ad comes another 6 times, 6 times.
That's right.
After a while, that repetition, something will actually stick.
Yes.
All right.
Which is what I remember you teaching me that, which is why I went back to your business.
It's the repetition. Yeah.
Mm.
See, and another thing is I look at it, people make ads, and I say, look, this rubbish, that ad won't work. They get upset. But, I said, look, it's not going to work.
You're trying to save them money too.
That's right.
You don't want them to.
For example, I was asked to make when Crocs were kind of starting to take off. Someone said, "Could you make an ad for Crocs for shoe?" He said, "I made this ad, and it just after that, you try getting a pair of Crocs in the shop, you couldn't get them." And this is how it went. You see, it opens up with a scene, and people are. You can see people wearing Crocs, just walking, just of their feet wearing Crocs, and then you see them having a shower.
And they're Crocs.
Well, you just see the feet in the shower, and they're wearing Crocs. You see, and then at night they're sleeping, and they're wearing Crocs. And this is the punchline. They're so comfortable, you forget you're wearing them.
Wow. George.
Right. So what am I selling? I'm not selling Crocs. I'm selling comfort. So when you promote a product, you don't promote the product. You promote the benefits of the product.
Oh, wow.
That's what you do. And I try to tell them, look, that ad's not going to work. So what are they? It's the latest Italian design and leather and all that nonsense. What are the benefits? Why should I buy that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because most people, when you get home, you want to take your shoes off. Give your feet a breather, give your feet a relax. People can't wait to get home and take their feet out of a shoe or something. But this one, they're having a shower. They're so comfortable you forget you're wearing it. The person's sleeping in them. And so the punchline is they're so comfortable
you forget you're wearing them.
Yeah. So what are you promoting? You're selling comfort.
Yeah.
You're not selling Crocs, you're selling comfort. Most people wear shoes, they can't wait to take them off when they get home. After all day, they've been in shoes. Men, especially men, they take their shoes. Women with high heels, they can't wait to be high heels, uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so I've got a good angle on how to make ads. Sometimes I think, I look at people's ads and I don't check my head, well, it's nonsense. That ad is going to do nothing. You try and talk to them, they get angry. I say, okay. Yeah.
Well, okay, because I'm the student here, right?
So I mean, you tell me a product you want to.
Well, because I'm a student here, with you and I in this little, course session episode, I designed a very simple piece of advertising with Hayden and put it across the road to test it. Yeah. Right across the road from my office to test it. And that was like, I don't know, a month ago. So I had it up for 3 weeks, and I'd sit in here and I'd look outside those doors, George, and I'd watch all the tourists pulling up to go snorkeling at Fruits of Rarotonga, whether or not they would scan the ad, whether or not they would even look at the ad, like, half a meter by 2 meters, and whether, what. So I was sitting and I'm looking out. So by the 3rd week, I walk across the road and I say, which was last week, and I say to the 6 or 8 people across the road, I go, can I ask you why you don't feel compelled to scan that QR code? So they look over, and what their face was saying, George, was, what QR code? Right? And I said, thank you. You've answered my question by not even saying anything. And they go, well, oh, okay. And they're looking at it, right? And I said, no, you've just answered me. My messaging is wrong. My messaging is wrong. And I'm so glad that I only did 2 of them. I was going to do 10, right? And then I said, if I told you that there were over 100 businesses with free information behind that QR code, would you scan it? Yes, they said. All of them. Yes. I said, my messaging's wrong. Great, great. I've learned that by just doing my own research. So I come back and I send a text to Hayden and I go, our messaging is wrong on the 2-meter board. We need it changed. I don't quite know what that is, but it's good to know in week 3. Our messaging is wrong. Yeah. So then I had to sit down when I could, because you got to let the right brain, and go, well, what is it? How you were talking about the benefits of a product and, why would I buy that? So first of all, they nodded their head when I said, if you knew there were 100+ local businesses behind that QR code, would you scan it? Yes. If you knew there was free information behind that QR code, would you scan it? Yes. If you knew that you could call the service provider behind that QR code of 100 businesses, would you scan it? Yes. So we were talking more about like what it does,
The benefits.
but we would so we need to change the messaging. What's the benefits of the product?
You see, I'm the instigator of the I am signs.
I know.
Okay.
I know you are.
But you see, people say these things are everywhere, but they're not. But wherever I put them, they're very strategic. And you see, if you're going to do something for public viewing, it's got to be at an eye level that you can see it, and also you're going, 40K, 50K on a road. You're moving. Now, when we had the general elections and we saw some of these political notice boards, you had to actually stop to read.
True.
The messages are on there.
True.
And the messages were up there. You had to look up.
True.
Where, a person in a vehicle, you've got to be able to, if you're going to put billboards up, they're going to be at a place that people drive in and see. Sometimes where these things are strategically placed, you see them 100 meters before you pass them. They're right in your face. And because they're in your face and they are repeated at different places, they're on power poles. No one ever thought a power pole, could be an advertising. And then all of a sudden, people are complaining to Tearpong and saying, "Oh, if you can why can't we put our ads here?" Then they try to get my ads removed. I says, "No way, you're not moving that. You try and see what happens." So some people came and they paint over them.
Yeah.
Some people are going to rip them down.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But you can see these signs, 100 meters, you can't help it because they're big. Now, when you're in New Zealand and you're driving around and you look at an AA sign, when you're lost, it's a yellow background with black writing.
Yes.
That's what's called a contrast sign. But people make harmony signs, they're similar colors. So nothing jumps out at you. You really got to go up there and read. You actually got to stop. Who stops? Their vehicle hops out and starts reading what's on the sign. And I keep saying to these politicians, look at your signs. Oh, there's writing. Who's going to stop there and read that? Nobody. And look how high they are. Bring them down.
I'm laughing because of my sign, not because of,
So, you look at here, some people get 50, 60, whang. If you had a sign somewhere, would they see it? And then you got to see, like, there was a sign that was ripped down where they stopped to get their water station. They stopped and it's right in your face. Yeah. And people get the impression these signs are everywhere. They're not everywhere. There are 6,000 lampposts, power poles on the side. They're not on every single one. And the time comes, I'll do that. But what is the philosophy? What is the message behind all this? Right? And people, just think no one in the entire world. Now this thing is the I am is all over the place now. It's throughout the Cook Islands. You don't have to put 100 up. You just put them in certain places, and people can't help but see them. And I see it there, and I see it there, and I see it there. It's just a repeat. It's almost subliminal, subconscious. Yeah. And it's a strategy, and I've worked out. I had a strategy, I had a tactic. How do I promote this I am? And then people say, "What does all that mean?" And there's no phone numbers. It's just then people make inquiries, and you're able to then I get New Zealanders want to donate to it. They find out what it's all about, and then they get an I am T-shirt, I am pendant with I am, and posters and all sorts of things. Yeah. And as giveaways, you give us $100, we'll give you maybe $50 worth of
merchandise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, then it's because of those they promote. And wear, the I am T-shirts and
All right. So my messaging's wrong. So maybe I could do a join me. Maybe I could do we're going to have a talk about this at lunch afterwards, George, okay?
Because you see, people actually stop there
Yes.
It's not as if they're driving past.
Yeah, they actually stopped
So-
across the road to go snorkeling. Yeah.
So they actually stop there.
And they're still not ready.
Well, no, they're looking at it, but they don't see what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's if there's a benefit there somewhere, that's gonna resonate with somebody. Okay? Figures out, why do people come there in the first place?
They come to snorkel
Yeah, but what,
because they were told by TripAdvisor that Fruits of Rarotonga is one of the best snorkeling spots to
Yeah.
see beautiful fish.
all right,
That's
so
why they come there. Yes.
not to snorkel, to see
Fish.
the fish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see our wildlife, our fish. Yeah. To see our, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
why they come there.
Yeah, see, I mean, you got to be creative. How do you connect? They'll come really to look at the marine life, eh?
Yes.
The fish, blah, blah, blah. And so how do you connect that to what your science says?
And do you remember once, was it you, George, that told me that your family used to call across the road the Coral Garden?
That's right.
Was your family, it was either you or your sister
Yeah.
who told me that?
Yeah.
That you would call Fruits of Rarotonga the Coral Garden.
So that's how we just it's a coral garden,
Yeah.
and you can see all sorts of, you're selling
I've said that to people. I go, friends of mine call this the Coral Garden. Okay, sorry. Can we go back? Shit, I just interrupted you and I was getting my 101 class. They come to see the marine life. Yes. They come to see the fish. Yes.
see the thing is, what's the big picture, all right?
Yeah.
What's the big picture? And then there's layers within layers.
Yes.
When there's a big picture, it's there's the big picture. Then what are all the I'm trying to find
The layers. Yeah.
the layers there that make up the big picture. And this great thing about the you see, when, for example, you get the daily newspaper, you skim through it and then you biff it, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get another one. See, when you get the Herald, you don't throw it away.
Mm.
It was designed that you didn't throw it away; you kept it for a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the reader retention rate of this publication?
I know
right?
that.
How do you make people see what's in? When they look at your paper, how do you make them see what's for advertisers? You see,
That's why I came to your newspaper recently.
Yeah.
It was only in April.
Yeah.
We're recording in May. Because
But
I
see,
knew that my face would be on the front of that newspaper for one whole week.
being advertised.
Because I had learnt that from you and your brother, and and then it would sit there for a whole week.
Yeah. Well, see, like say the Herald, what we used to do, we used to have a series of numbers in every issue. All right. Sometimes on 3 pages, it's got different numbers stamped. And so we'd run spot prizes on the radio. And the reason and you had to have a paper in front of you to be able to answer the question.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Well done.
all the questions had to do with something. So after a while, they would be studying the page of all the advertising. So there's corned beef. And you'd say, how many cows are there on that tin of corned beef? And then they ring up 3 cows,
Mm-hmm.
right? You won a prize.
Yeah.
Usually it's a tin of corned beef provided by a sponsor.
Yeah.
But the thing is that to get any answer, you had to keep that newspaper.
Mm.
At the end of the week, Thursday, we would have a draw for cash prizes, right? And one time, and that would come on television. So you had to keep your newspaper for the TV, but you had to have it all week, and then before the new one comes out Wednesday, and then we have this. You had to keep it till Thursday, the old one, and then we just on TV will come an ad saying this is the number. That's it. It only come once.
Mm.
So people would have been waiting. They wouldn't have told, between this time and that time, we'll screen the number. So it forced them to watch television. And while they're watching, they're seeing everybody else's ads as well. You see? So you see, you're synergizing these 3 mediums to play off against each other. Right? So and then we had Vodafone ring, Telecom ring up, says, look, something's got to stop here. They said, why? See, when there's 500 calls simultaneous in a system, everything shuts down. Everybody sits down at the microphone, right? They can't take any more than that, right? So
The infrastructure can't take everyone trying to ring up and get their free prize.
you see, especially when you offer free prizes.
Yeah.
And you do it during Shortland Street, but then you have problems with Te Ponga because the power surges up like this. Then he can say, "Look, can you move that program somewhere else?" Why? He said, "Because whenever Shortland Street comes, there's so many people watching it that the power board. No, you fix your problem. That's going to cost us $350,000 to put the equipment there to be able to." But they said it only happens.
It's Shortland Street.
It's all the street and the news that follows that. It starts to come down. It starts with the local news, peaks at Shortland Street, and it starts to come back down. Yeah. And we said, no, you.
This, what was that? This is an opportunity for you, dear. If you have a problem, there's something.
Well, it was a great selling for those that would take it to advertise it. That's all we want to be on Shortland Street. Why? Because they knew there's a signal publicised that's where most people are watching. Yeah, they'll see their ads. So it was you play things off against another, bounce them off. But what happened was that it just got too much for some people. That they started to break it all down and keep radios totally separate from, But anyway, it was a time we made a lot of nice dollars.
Yeah.
Just by being creative with the resources we had. But reader retention rate. How long does someone keep the Cook Island news? CRDC take a half a page out, advertise their specials. People look at that, flick the page. They looked at it. What did they see? Did they see how much the specials and the prices? Nah, there's not even a coupon that says, cut this out, bring it in, you'll get a discount.
Yeah.
Or 10%.
Yeah.
And that way, they're guaranteed to get something. Or, if I was doing the advertising, that's what I do. I'd say, I'd go back, get a number, run some spot prizes, don't cost you much money. Every day, you see, if you didn't get the spot prize, when they take one call, you don't say, "Oh, you didn't get it." The next one, you say, "Well, sometimes we wait, 10 calls, and we take the 10th one. Yeah, what's your answer? Okay, you get the number. They're going to come and show, the things matched, and they get their gift and their prize. Yeah. Sometimes when the prize, one time we had $3,000 that was there to give away. People were buying 5-6 heralds, so they got 5 or 6 newspapers. All the numbers waiting for their number to come up because the computer just generated the number.
Yeah.
You just press the button and whatever came up, the computer spilled out a number. People say, "Oh, you're making it up." No, you come in and bring the police if you want. Watch it. The police can press the button and see what the number is. But after a while, police say, wasting the time of a policeman to come in and supervise that. Everything seems above board. Don't have to play the game you don't want it.
All right, George.
So it's bouncing things off each other.
Yeah.
But remember, whenever there's a problem,
I'm saying all right because I want you back on the show. I don't want everything given today.
whenever there's a problem, there's prosperity.
Yeah, wherever there's a problem, there's prosperity. Yeah. That's what you said when we first started.
Yeah. See, it's what you see. Do you see a coconut on the ground, or do you see 30 cents?
30 cents.
Yeah, you can go and grate that coconut and make it into something else.
All right, so I want to go on your show, man. When can I come on your show, on your radio show?
Well, I don't have my own radio. I've stopped doing that.
I know you told me that in the car, and I was like, I want to kick him out now.
No, the reason being, I've been helping inmates.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking an inmate 4 days a week. Yeah, and mentoring them and helping them get their parole and helping them fit back into society.
Oh,
it's one of the things I do that don't. But if you get an inmate, we got to go to the prison, pick them up, bring them home, and we got to pay for the use of them. All right, we got to pay corrective services, and I was getting one prisoner 4 days a week, and then you got to take them back by a certain time got to feed them, but you got to be there. They can't be there
Alone.
supervised.
Yeah.
So I felt, well, I want to invest in this person.
Oh,
All right.
okay. In this cause, in this, yeah. Cool.
Well, that particular business now got their parole now, and so I'm a little bit more free in my time.
Yeah.
But there are certain conditions to the parole.
Nice one, George.
Yeah, but that's I outside. This is like my Christian contribution. I used to go to the hospital one fortnight after church, and then the other fortnight I go to the prison. But I've got other people going to the hospital, and usually after my church service on a Sunday, I go straight out to the prison and spend 12:30. I think it's 12:30 to 2:30, 2 hours. So I got prisoners that will come and we spend time, and it's all just help keep me in training. But then I was having two come, and but then I found out that to me two was a bit too much.
Yeah.
If you can invest in one person and teach them that what's done under him, he needs to do somebody else. He's not allowed to go back to the prison for a year, but he can. If I get another prisoner, he can help me mentor them. But this particular guy, he's doing well. I'm setting him up. He's being set up in business, and he's got quite a few years to claw back, from being inside. So you've got to do so much time before you can earn the right for a day release as a prisoner, under supervision.
How many inmates do we have up there? I'm only asking you because tourists asked me.
About 29, about 30 something.
About 30 something.
Yeah. Well, at one stage, there was 30, just on 30, and 22 of them are detectives.
Oh.
And see, the thing is, they've got family there, they've got kids there, they're here. How are their families going to visit? And all that does is it creates another problem. A broken, who puts food on their table?
Oh, because that's the Cook Islands prison, eh? It's not the Rarotonga prison.
Yeah.
So we only have one, is what you're saying.
So I'm working on
so that everyone has to come to this prison.
I'm working on a series of rationale and presentations and papers to say, okay, if a guy say from Aitutaki and he gets sentenced to Rarotonga, the Cook Islands prison, that maybe after 6 months he can be released to go back to serve the rest of his time at Aitutaki, because then he's got his family. They've got wife and kids, and people that they are like grandparents that they looking after.
Support system.
Yeah, there's you see, because you live in the outer islands, you have to supplement your income. Like you have your pigs, you have your plantation, and you go fishing, and that way you supplement your income. And so when and then, if you get a sort of 4-year sentence, well, that's a long time away. Your kids still have to get an air ticket to come and see you. When they come to see you, it's in a short time.
Yeah.
Only Sundays. Whereas I can go to the prison anytime I want now, because I've earned the trust of I've been doing this for years. Earned the trust of the wardens. Eh? And George is not here. He's a media person. He won't report nothing. What happens there stays there, and I can go during the week when you're not supposed to have visits. Yeah. So, and if the person hasn't earned the right to get out there, and they need a visit because their husband or their wife, that's male and female. Yeah. So that's something I just do. That's not that well known, but that's why I'm not so regular on my program on Radio Cook Islands, because one free day that I have to myself, then I go and do a lot of my own personal things.
Yeah. Which is like go for a swim, like you told me, opposite the SDA beautiful church down at Paparo.
Yeah.
And walk the beach and go for a swim.
Well, see, when the prisoner, the inmate starts heading back to the prison, they've got to be picked up around about after 3:30. So then I'm ready back. As soon as I got their lift organised, because they're going to be taken back and signed in, and all this. You've got to follow. They have to keep records, books and stuff, in and out all the carry on. So I head off to the beach, and then I got at least 2 hours out there where I time of meditation, reflection, and right brain thinking,
Right brain,
and all these ideas, But I always carry out a book,
I see that.
and then things. And I love talking to people that walk past that, great conversation, and then there's a chance to sell our country, where you're from, and people are surprised, Germans say, "Oh yeah, I've been to Germany. Whereabouts?" I tell them where I've been. So I've been on the Rhine River and all this. Oh, I've been to, France, and been throughout Asia, and familiar with places in Great Britain and all sorts of things. People are quite surprised. Here's the guy from the Cook Islands. He'd been all these places, and just create conversation, because it's also a learning experience. You're picking up things, what they feel about, our country. I say, well, you can always stay longer. I ask them where they're staying, what they do as activities. I say, they say, what do you think we should do over here? So sometimes I give them some ideas. I should try this, try that. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have a talk about that, because now you're going to direct them to my website, please.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, roll up, roll up, roll up, roll up. Have I got a deal for you? Have I got a deal for you?
Yeah, what's the deal? So, well, are you
Have I got a deal for you?
I want you to listen very carefully
listening?
and hear what I'm going to tell you.
And hear what I'm going to tell you, because
And at the same time, you nod your head.
I'm only going to do this once. George Pitt, media, gosh, preaching, everything. Oh my goodness, we've covered so much today.
Well, you see, our country is based on 4 pillars. Right? 4 pillars of 4 power bases. All right. First of all, who was here before anybody else? Was the indigenous leaders or people. All right. And then after that came the missionaries. Now, when the missionaries came here, they became the power base. All right. First of all, the power base was the indigenous people. But when the church came here, they took over. They became the power base. They were the ones that had the traditional leaders under their thumbs, so to speak, and then in the 1960s, we had the politicians arrive. Next thing you know, the politicians were the power base of the country. What they said went, not what the church said, and not what the traditional. No, you people, we're in charge here. You do what we tell you. Then we had this economic crash, 1996, 97, and our government went bankrupt. So who held the money? It was the private sector. So suddenly they emerged, the Chamber of Commerce. They started throwing their weight around. And the thing is that whoever's got the money controls. Okay? This is why Hitler got so angry with the Jews and started to kill them all, because they had created an economy within an economy. They ran. Today in America, 72% of the wealth of America is owned by less than 3% of the population, and they are Jews. This is why they will not touch Israel. As Trump says, you put a finger on Israel, I'm going to nuke the lot of you. Right? America's got 320 plus million people. Iraq, maybe it's got 85. Iran's got 40 something. He's like, what the lot of you off the map. You touch Israel. That's why no country, they hate Israel. They hate the Jews. But they were very careful. When they went through Trump, they moved the headquarters of the capital of Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is Armageddon. This is Armageddon. It's the end. No one did a thing. Trump said, you lift the finger, and I'll just blow a lot of you. Get rid of a lot of you. Bang, press one button. Oh, we've got a red button. He says, my button's bigger than your button.
That's interesting.
Yeah. See, the wealth of America is owned by less than 3% of the population. Right? Yeah. So the Jews, a Jew would only buy from another Jew. So, but he'd sell to anybody. And how do you know that person was Jew? The Star of David above his shop, right? So I want to buy something. I'd look for another Jew. I wouldn't go and buy off a non-Jew, right? So you create an economy. That's what I am's about. We'll tell you about what it's all about, right? Wherever you see the I am sign, Christians, you take and spend your money there, right? Yeah. So you're creating an economy, and the people that control the money control everything else. Yeah. And it's not about. See, so we have these pillars of power. All right. You see that? Yeah. It's being able to become a influence in every one of them. Right? See, you're going to get a better result by being someone that can influence rather than someone having power. Because when you don't have the position, you don't have the power anymore. Because
when you don't have the position, you don't have the power. Okay.
Power is often relative to position. You're the prime minister of the country, you've got power. But after a while, if you're not the prime minister, you don't have anything. Right? So what's the good of having power? Because when you don't have the position, that's it. You're nobody. But if you influence has been able to get those that have power to make the decisions, certain decisions. Yeah. So when you don't have to have a position to have influence. All you've got to have is good relationship from these four. The first 4 years I was in Rarotonga, I never moved outside the church. I did everything was in the church. People would meet me and say, "Well, how long have you been here?" I said, 3 years. Where you been? Oh, I said, here and there. And they never answer question. Never give anything away. Or learning to answer a question with a question. Where have you been? Well, what do you want to know for? You see? And that's another thing that when you study the life of Jesus, when he's asked a question, he'd answer with a question. They'd say, "Are you the Son of God?" He said, "Well, who do you think I am?" When he was put a question, they were trying to trap him. So question about taxes. He said, "Well, whose picture is on the coin?" Because it was Caesar. He said, "Give that to Caesar. The one belongs to Caesar."
Yeah,
that's your answer.
I use that all the time.
Yeah. So answering a question with a question. That's a technique. Yeah. And you get them to do the talking, and that exposes them. But this whole business of communicating, it's there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
We're going to wrap up for today, George. But please.
I mean, I don't have any secrets. You see?
Well, I want you to come back on the show.
Yeah.
Right?
But see, when people come to look for,
And I asked to go on yours, and I am going to get it because there's a strategy and a tactic as to why. Everyone's like going, "Yeah, man, go on Cook Islands Radio."
Well, I don't have any. I haven't got any inmates for the time being, so it's freed up some time.
Yay!
Yeah,
I could be your inmate project, right? Yeah. For the next few weeks. 10-year revision. Chantal's come back for a 10-year revision course. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You could be a co-host with me.
I could.
Yeah.
I could.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've had a bit of practice now.
Yeah.
I've had a bit of practice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for today.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to go to lunch now. You can choose. All right. I promised I'd take you to lunch. All right. Anywhere you want to go in Rarotonga.
When I was living in Melbourne, I used to take people for lunch in Tasmania.
Oh my God. Well, I'm not taking you to Moki for lunch, okay? I'm not taking you to Mangaya.
I had someone in the church who was a pilot, you see. I had someone in the church who was a pilot. They used to fly this freight plane from Melbourne to Tasmania about 5 times a day. But they fly all around.
Far out.
It's a freight plane.
How
The back opens up and then they put all these big containers in the back. But in the
I'm starting my list. Make friends with Orana.
They have jump seats, you see. Jump seats. Now, to go from Melbourne, right, and it was just around the corner from the best area, just around the corner from where I lived. And so we'd have this pilot, and he said, George, anytime, just give us a ring. He had to register me as a crew, right? So I get registered as a crew. So I get someone visit from New Zealand, another pastor or something. I said, well, let's go for a lunch. He said, no, let's go for lunch. Go to the airport. He's signing. He said, where are we going? So we're going to lunch. I wouldn't tell where we were going. So we hopped in 40 minutes or less. It's like flying from here to Kentucky. Okay. When I get my own jet, I'll take people to Kentucky for lunch. See?
Totally, man.
Yeah. 20 minutes, take have lunch and spend the day there and come back at night, you see. Anyway, so we'd go off.
I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it.
We'd go off and then we'd land in
Tasmania.
In Launceston, all right? And then so, that's where Launceston. So we go to lunch. So they can't believe it, you see. So we spend the day there, doing all the touristy things and
very cool. Very cool.
Taking on all the touristy things, and then we would have lunch and then make our way back to because I know at the time the plane's coming, and you catch the plane and come back. As soon as they get back, they're on the phone ringing their partners in New Zealand. Guess what? I went to lunch today in Tasmania. How'd you do that? He said, George flew us across there for lunch. Didn't cost me anything.
Brilliant.
These are guys that I don't know have in the church. And when he got transferred up to East Malaysia, he'd shout me trips to East Malaysia. 3 trips. I go all the way up to East Malaysia and spend a weekend with him because he was in a Muslim country and he just wanted to have Christian, interaction. Yeah.
And wanted to see a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so.
He doesn't want to get off, does he, everybody?
Well.
Are you hungry? You got to be hungry, Joel. What's the time? What's the time? Right?
It's good
I'm hungry.
You see, it's because you said wherever you want to go, we'll go for lunch. Well, we caught the plane. We could go to Kentucky.
Can you make a phone call?
We could run down the airport.
I'm sure you know some of the pilots, man.
Hop off the plane and
and be stuck in 40 minutes.
They have a couple of jump seats on the plane to go to, in a little plane.
I've got so many notes from today. I know. Yeah, thank you so much. And it was just a conversation. It was just like, how are you? We had no agenda. We just flowed today. Right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
My pleasure. You said again.
My pleasure.
My pleasure. I'm doing that tone thing.
My pleasure.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Yeah.
There you go, everybody.
It's called voice inflection. You can change the meaning of all sorts of things just by where you raise your voice from here.
Totally.
Some people you listen to preach and they're so boring you actually fall asleep because there's no emphasis on anything.
All right. Thank you very much, George Pitt. These are notes that I wrote. The good of the enemy. The good is the enemy of best. Wherever there's a problem, there's prosperity. How can I help you today? Benefits of the product. Information is my currency. Eye level signs. What else have I got? Where, how, what, when, strategy, tactics, and what is the outcome that you want?
That's what people don't know. They don't know about that.
Thank you for episode 1 with George Pitt. Loko ne ia matou, aroa i atu kia koto katoa. May you live long means, in our language, airera, farewell, kia orana, good luck.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon.
Yeah, good luck and good health.
Yeah. Kia orana. I said me too, all sorts of things. What do you want it to be? Hello, goodbye. Good to see you.
Kia orana. I know, it's beautiful.
Best wishes.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for listening to Kia orana podcast. It's been fantastic connecting with you all again.